Hello, this is the third video in the tool series, sub-series, uh, for the Mastering Self, like, major series, I guess. um, so this next one that I'm going to cover, I realized in the last video, I was like, oh, right, this is a really important skill slash like tool that I use that I think it's like, yeah, I don't know why I didn't think of this. So it's the ability to take actions that people take and split them from the person. Now, this sounds at its face really stupid. The reason I say that is because, like, thinking about it, someone does an action. Well, it should be attached to them because it's an action they took, right? So why does decoupling the action from the person, why is this like even a tool? And also, what's it used for? Good question. So, the reason that splitting the action from the person is helpful is because when we interact with people, regardless of kind of how unbiased or whatever you may feel you are, we kind of have a skeletal structure in our subconscious, maybe conscious mind, but in our subconscious that basically is built for each individual person that we interact with. And, we have one for strangers, we have one for, friendly acquaintances, coworkers, family, friends, significant other, whatever, right? Individual people. And inevitably, these constructs, I'm not going to use the word construct. These, oh my god, my nose is so itchy. I'm so sorry. Why is it so itchy? Oh my gosh, it's like, okay, I gotta focus. Okay. So these, we'll call them templates. There we go. These templates that we make it easy for us to expect certain behaviors of people. And the more we interact with someone, the more fleshed out the template becomes. And I will say, most people do this. I don't necessarily think all people do this. I know for me, I don't really do this. I do something else, but this isn't really about me specifically. This is just about me teaching you this tool. So for the purposes of this, we'll say that most people do this. So the problem with these templates is someone inevitably will do something that goes against the template that we have of them. And if the template includes all the actions they've taken over the years, if they take an action that's outside of your expectations, either the template breaks and then you have to remake a template from scratch, or because it's outside of your template, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't even know this person. And so some actions will totally recontextualize how you think of them on a deep level. This is so long as the action and the person are tied together. The moment that you decouple those two things and you take the perspective, and again, this is a perspective shift. So it's not just doing this decoupling. It's like you see the world differently with this tool. When you decouple, what happens is you start to see people as people, actions as actions, and understanding that people can take actions that are harmful or helpful or neutral or some blend of in between at all times. So they can do things that maybe you don't like. They can do things that you're not going to expect. That is the nature of reality. Because you do not know the person as well as yourself. And you know that if someone had a template of you, you don't fall into just this box that someone makes for you. There's tons of you. There's tons of parts of you that they don't ever get to see, and so their template's going to be wrong. They could get good approximations, and they can be right most of the time, but these templates just inherently don't encompass the person. And so when you realize that you and then them are the same when it comes to this depth, and some people can have more depth, less depth, whatever. Regardless, you're not going to know the full them. You can get kind of close. You can, a partner or, a family member, whatever. You can get really, deep with the person. But there's still kind of, space where maybe they don't tell you everything about themselves. Because maybe they're afraid of judgment, they're afraid of blah, 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 whatever, or maybe they just don't feel like it's none of your business, whatever it is, right? So, why decouple? Because when you do, this allows you to see that the action that they took is a choice that they made, that maybe it was a good choice in the moment for them, but later maybe they realize, oh, that actually wasn't something I probably should have done. And if you tie the action to them, you can't really forgive them for certain things because they're branded as that action. This is why you'll have scenarios where someone cheats on someone in a relationship and then the whole relationship's broken and over because that's unforgivable. How could you do this? Now, I'm not saying that cheating is a good thing, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't be upset about the cheating act, right? What I am saying is you throwing away an entire friendship, commitment, loved thing, whatever it is, right? Marriage, all of this stuff, because of an action that someone took. Sometimes that's totally reasonable. Depends on the action. Sometimes it's an overreaction. But this is all within the context of having everything coupled to the action. The moment you decouple it and you see, okay, this person cheated on me, you're not looking at it as this person is an evil person now because cheating is evil and they did the evil thing, and so now they're evil. Instead, you look at, okay, why did they cheat? What is the reason behind the cheating? So instead of immediately breaking things off, you go to them and you say, hey, so I'm really upset that you did this. Can you tell me why? I'm genuinely, I want to know what the reason behind all of this was. Because I want to understand if we can still have a relationship, or maybe there's something in the relationship that you're not getting, and so you went somewhere else. Maybe I'm just not right for you. So we need to figure this out. And so you have a discussion with them. You can still be upset about the thing that happened, but you can work through it and say, okay, genuinely, what was the reason this happened? And if you do this, you're able to get some clarity on maybe in the relationship, you are someone who doesn't really like having sex a lot. And so maybe you only have sex once a week. And the partner is really horny all the time and they want to have sex every day. And so for them, it doesn't really work. The relationship doesn't work long term because they need more than what you're able to provide for them. And so their thought was, okay, I can't get what I need from this partner. So I'm going to go behind their back and get it from someone else. Now, that decision was a fucked up decision. But in the moment, they thought, it's the only thing I can do because my partner is not willing to compromise on this. And so this is how you can have a scenario of someone cheating, right? I'm not saying this happens all the time. I'm just giving you one hypothetical, right? Now, you would not know that if you didn't sit down and actually try and think about, why did this happen? What was the actual reason? And you could only have that conversation if you decoupled the action from the person, because the action, while a negative action for you, doesn't make the person a negative person. And this is the power of decoupling. When you realize that it is inevitable that people will do things that are outside your expectations, both good and bad. Again, that's a perspective thing. This kind of allows you to feel the emotion, experience it, and then walk past that emotion and kind of analyze why the thing occurred. Is it fundamentally your fault that they went and cheated? No, it's not. They chose to cheat. So this isn't a victim blame thing. But this is kind of an important moment for this couple, this hypothetical couple, because it tells the guy or the girl, whoever it is that was cheating, it tells them, hey, I need to be with a partner who has a high sex drive. That's something I need in my relationship. And if I don't, I'm going to do stupid things. Or I'm going to look for it elsewhere, or whatever it is, right? And then for the person who got cheated on, it's a moment where they can understand the type of partner that I need. This libido thing has to be a point of me bringing it up to see if this is going to be okay. Because clearly people who have higher libido are not necessarily going to be happy in a relationship where they can't get as much sexual gratification or whatever it is, right? And I'm not saying that you can't have like one person being lower sex drive, one person being higher sex drive, and have a relationship work. That's totally, it can work. But that's something that the partners as an individual kind of, they have to figure out like how to make it work, right? And I won't go into specifics there because obviously, it's just an example. So this is why it's really helpful to be able to split these things apart. What that also means is, regardless of the action taken, the person is still a person. They can do bad actions or actions that are negative, wrong, fucked up, whatever, right? And we should still bring them to justice, have proper things handled in the legal system or whatever it is, right? But the person doesn't become characterized as the action. They're still a human being. And when you treat people as humans, regardless of the actions they take, this fundamental shift in perspective, it gives you a sense of if you can do this with other people, you can do this with yourself. And this is why it is so powerful. This decouples the actions you've taken in the past with the judgment and all the other things that you tack on to that specific action, whatever it is. So again, going back to the cheater thing, if someone cheats, they could, for the rest of their life, feel, oh my god, I am a cheater. I am a cheater. And that's it. And that's all I'm known as, is a cheater. And they can shame themselves, and they can all sorts of stuff, because their action they've coupled to themselves. But if everyone is decoupled, that includes yourself. So now you can say, I did a really stupid thing by cheating. It wasn't right. I shouldn't cheat. And so in the future, I'm going to look for someone that has the same level of sex drive, so that then I'm not even tempted to cheat, because all of my needs are met, all of their needs are met, and we're great. So there's no point in even worrying about it. I won't cheat in the future. That's what can happen. And that's the kind of growth that you can have by cutting things off at the pass. So you don't even have the temptation for things like that in the future. You can do that with anything. And so it helps for growth. And it helps for, just like allowing you to be able to make mistakes. Allowing for you to screw up. And, or for other people to screw up. This gives you a level of forbearance towards these kinds of incidents, where it's like, okay, you fucked up. Now what are we going to do from now on? Like, in that same couple scenario, maybe they figure out a way for the person with the higher libido to like feel satisfied in their relationship, and it fixes the whole thing. because from the very beginning, it wasn't about, oh, I want to go cheat on my partner. It was, I'm not getting something out of the relationship, and if it was fixed, I wouldn't want to do the thing, right? So now I'm not saying, again, that this other person that has the lower libido, that I'm not saying that they are at fault here. Of course, they're not at fault. But by talking and kind of doing this, there's a possible reconciliation where the root cause of the issue is solved. Because that's really, at the end of the day, like, once you've been cheated on, it's really easy to be worried about every partner doing the same thing, especially if you don't know the reason as to why they cheated, where you just, you label them like, oh, if they cheat, they're evil. And so, boom, slap on the evil tag, not look into why they're doing it, not figure out the reasoning. The reasoning could be fucking dumb, right? Like, so, it's not a guarantee that things can work out, but at least understanding why allows for you to not fear this cheating thing in the future. So yeah. So anyway, I talked a lot about like the reasons as to why it's helpful. How do you go about doing it? This is really hard. It's kind of just something you have to... Okay, I don't want to say it's really hard so much as you have to kind of repetitively do this. And maybe you start with smaller things and kind of build your way up to these larger incidents or larger things. So you could go that path of like slow tolerance buildup. The other kind of path that you can take involves, like, fundamentally, it's a shift in perspective. So how do you shift your perspective? Well, you can make a construct. That's one way to do it. You can build up tolerance. You can also start with someone who you really love. And you can build kind of this like, okay, maybe there's something they've done in the past that's really bothered you. And maybe you've never had closure on it. You've never talked to them about it. So what you can do is you can go to the person and you can say, hey, this has always kind of bothered me in the background, and I just want to talk about it. I'm like, it still bothers me. Can we sit down and like work it out? So you can do that. You can also kind of you can sit with yourself and start forgiving yourself. That's another way. If it's hard to do it with external people, you can start with the internal self. Decoupling the actions and really kind of like allow to forgive yourself. And it might be easy, it might be hard. Nose is just itchy again. But yeah, it's something that when you sit down and kind of, again, introspect or look into yourself, whatever you want to call it, it's really easy to judge ourselves. And so this can help where you start with something small why did I eat that piece of chocolate? Instead of saying, I ate that piece of chocolate, I'm a piece of shit. So you see how you're shifting your mind perspective from here's judgment on that thing, and that gets put onto me, to instead, why did I do the thing that I did? No judgment, just why. And then, if I don't want to do that thing in the future, how can I change it in order to not do it? So if I don't want to eat chocolate because it makes me feel bad, well, why does it make you feel bad? There's a whole host of stuff you can do with that. But the point is decoupling so that there's no judgment. Because, again, judgment is kind of something we attach to a lot of these actions. When we think of someone who's a cheater, there's a certain stigma attached to cheating. And we don't think of the person, we just think of the archetype of cheating, and then we slap it on the person, whether it be yourself or another, partner, someone who says that they cheated, whatever it is, right? And it won't matter if you do the slapping on of the archetype to someone. It won't matter why, the reasons. They're just a cheater, and that's it. And it's black and white. So this is where you peel that back and you decouple, and now it's like, okay, now we can have nuance. Is every cheater the same? Well, no, of course not. What even is the definition of cheating? That can be different for different people. Some people say cheating is looking at a different person. Others say, well, if you haven't had sex with the person, you're not cheating, right? So it's like there's a whole range. And if we just make it as a black and white issue, well, now we can't have nuance. And some people, an example, someone says, yeah, I'm a cheater. And then you immediately cross them out of your well, I'm not dating a cheater. What if they say that, but their definition of cheater and your definition of cheater are different? Maybe you're the one who's well, okay, as long as they're not actually having sex, it's not really cheating. And they're yeah, I looked at a woman or a man and thought they were hot, and now I'm a cheater. It's maybe you missed a whole beautiful opportunity there where you could have a great relationship, all because you didn't even understand that the definitions you were thinking of were different. And again, this is where decoupling allows for nuance. So, yeah. Anyway, is there anything else that I kind of want to say regarding this? It's one of those things where it's kind of hard to give you one specific method that works, because you kind of have to do it at your own pace, and you have to think about it from your perspective on what makes sense for you, on how you can cultivate this mindset. Because the others are more, applied to specific things, and so it's really easy to just apply. For this, it's it's a mindset, and the tool is the mindset itself. because the mindset opens the door to a lot. So yeah. Anyway, hopefully this helps. Don't know what other tools I'm gonna put down here. I might make some more at a later point. I don't think I'm gonna film any more today. I filmed all 3 today, so that's great. But yeah, hopefully it helps. And I guess I'll talk to you guys later. All right, bye.